Secretary Singson, we had a very interesting discussion on MAP's policy recommendations, but I'd like to go now to your personal experience because you have been a public leader for a long time with BCDA and then most recently with DPWH. And some of these people who are nominated for cabinet portfolios are your friends. You run in the same circles.
That's correct.
Some of them, unfortunately, don't have the same extensive experience in government as you do. What are some of the things that I think you can advise them so that they can maybe hit the ground running?
For one, luckily for DPWH, they have a senior guy there who's started his career in DPWH. No? This is Secretary Manny Bunoan.
Yes.
I think he knows what he has to do.
Okay.
So
he's okay.
He's okay.
Yeah.
Now, unfortunately, for the other agencies, no.
Right.
For example, the OTR.
Right.
No, you have Secretary Jimmy, who's coming from the private sector.
From Philippine Airlines. Yeah.
No experience in the government.
Right.
He might need to get a little bit more used to dealing with government.
Right.
You know. Now, we've been meeting with him actually as
Right.
MAP, giving him also suggestions in this sector.
Right.
And for one, I did mention to you earlier that what is important for the infrastructure agencies is to have what I referred to as the convergence program.
Okay.
You know? Meaning, this is what we did. For example, I asked the late Secretary Mon Jimenez
from tourism. Yeah.
Where are your tourism destinations so that
Right.
I can put the proper national road standards to these destinations.
Right.
So the whole country he identified because we agreed on a certain criteria.
Right.
Not more than 1 hour from a good airport, sufficient support in terms of hotels and so on.
Right.
That could be identified as a priority destination. Okay? So from the underground river to Sorsogon, Butanding sites, we went to Cebu, we went to Mount Pulag, and then several areas in Mindanao.
Yeah.
So we identified all of this major tourism. If I can recall right, the total budget we spent to build 2,500 kilometers of roads leading to tourism destinations was about 85 billion for the whole duration.
Wow.
Which is actually just the last 4 years. Because
Okay.
first 2 years were nothing.
Right. You were looking at.
So the same should happen in terms of where are the airports that the OTR, where are these airports, where are these seaports, Roro ports,
Right.
so that DPWH can properly provide national road standards. Kasi national road standards
Right.
are very wide with sidewalks and
Right.
so on. No? 2 lanes minimum. We
Right.
could go as much as 4 lanes.
Right.
So, for example, regional hospitals.
Okay.
No? Sometimes they put up a regional hospital because the governor donated property. Wala namang kaya.
Yeah, you can't get there.
Hindi naman accessible.
Oh.
For heaven's sake, how do you expect people
Right.
to go there? No?
Right.
So this is where we think there has to be convergence among the infrastructure agencies.
Okay.
And dapat may nagtitimon dyan.
Right.
Somebody has orchestrated that. Otherwise, its infrastructure agency will do its own, and at the end of the day, it's not accessible.
Right. And you were saying something like, what's the sense of building a regional airport, and then you have a municipal road
That's
leading?
correct. I remember having encountered a seaport.
A seaport,
supposed to be a container yard.
Yeah.
But how do you expect a container vessel or a 6x6 to enter a barangay road? Eh, hindi man makapagsalubong ang tricycle dyan. Paano lalabas ang container yard? Impossible. So,
Right.
these are the things that need to be addressed. Sayang ang pera.
Yeah. When you were Secretary of DPWH, you spent a lot of effort building this master plan, I guess, for flood control
That's correct.
and other things. What are some of the unfinished business? I mean, never mind, what happened in the past, but what are some of the things now that remain on that master plan that this new government should look at?
This area of personal advocacy is the water sector.
Okay.
The water sector has been the most neglected segment.
Okay.
You can ask anybody in the Philippines how much do you pay for water compared to electricity, compared to cell phone.
Right.
And they will say it is the lowest that I pay. What do you like? Low pay water with no water, or pay a little bit more but you have potable water? No? Simply because the water sector has been neglected.
Right.
There are some 30 agencies in government doing their own thing as far as the water sector is concerned.
Each a little kingdom.
That's correct.
Yeah.
So before we left in 2015, we had prepared what we referred to as the master plan to be able to manage and implement what we referred to then as IWRM, Integrated Water Resources Management Program,
Okay.
for the major rivers in the country. We identified and completed something like 11 major rivers,
Okay.
north to south. Cagayan River, the one in Ilocos, you have the Pampanga River, Pasig Marikina River, and then all the way to Visayas. We were able to start in Iloilo, the Halaur Dam,
Right.
which to me is a very good model
Right.
for the whole country.
Right.
Because there, you're able to then manage the flooding, which is annually happening or perennially causing loss of lives, loss
Right.
of damage to properties, farmlands are eroded, and so on. We don't manage the water.
Right. Then you have disasters. as a
Then you have
result.
disasters. So by managing that water, you can have potable water source, you can have hydropower, you have irrigation. On some, you even have tourism.
Right. Right.
So, as I said, the water sector has been the most neglected. So if there's any sector that this government should be addressing, is what to do with the water sector.
I'll go to that in a minute. But one of the things I remember that was major during your time, a major accomplishment, was the passage of the Cabotage Law. And this goes back to what you were saying, that you need to have convergence and connectivity. It was a good law, except something happened because people today are still complaining that Mindanao, for example, is the food basket, except that, sending the commodities from Mindanao to Manila is more expensive than sending them to, say, Singapore or Japan. The law is there. What's the follow-through that needs to happen to realize that the aim of that law?
Again, it is providing the necessary support to the shipping industry. The sad part is, or the reality is, we're island provinces.
Right.
So shipping lanes, shore ports, and so on. As you said, it's cheaper to bring tuna to Japan,
than to Manila.
to bring it here. No?
Yeah.
Because at least there, they have the economies of scale, the volume is right. Pero kung dito, kung tingi-tingi lang yung bibilhin,
Right.
it is not worth it. Mag-hire ka ng reefer vessel, no?
Right.
Hindi mo mapupuno.
Right.
You pay for the whole reefer vessel, regardless of puno o hindi.
Right.
So the cost really jacks up. The
Right.
same is true with vegetables, no?
Yeah, and they're perishables, and you can't.
That's correct.
Oh.
So I think, again, those are the areas that Fred is going to focus on,
Right.
Bringing goods to the market.
But you've been with government. How hard is it to from the private sector? It seems like it's job number one. But in the government, I guess you have these other factors to consider. How difficult is it to realize what you're saying, that there should be convergence, there should be coordination among departments and different agencies?
First of all, you have to stick to your principles.
Okay.
Zero tolerance.
Okay.
I made it very clear when I stepped in.
Yeah.
We are going to implement a good governance principles. No? So I conveyed this to the insiders. No? Those who could not stand the heat.
Leave the kitchen.
You're free to go. Yung mga alam kong notoriously corrupt na ayaw umalis, I had to kick them out.
Right.
Okay. So you have to stick your head out. No? And then, of course, you execute.
Yeah.
And the other group that you have to convince would be Congress.
Yeah.
That's another matter
ballgame.
altogether. No? So you have to convince them that, look, these are my priorities.
Right.
Okay? I will do all of this regardless of political color.
Yeah.
If you put in something that does not belong here, even if it is there, I will not execute them. Ganun lang ka-diretso. Okay? You want a budget there? Okay, these are the priorities. Meron kang ganito for all the national roads, regardless of color, we paved.
Right.
If there's a bridge there that's still wooden, I will do it, regardless of who is sitting there.
Yeah.
So it has to be that way.
And you know what you're talking about because you were able to stick around for 6 years. But we'll talk about your advocacy next. But before that, we'd like to take a break. Please stay with us. This is Dante Klink on SMNI's Business and Politics.